Attention Bigfoot seekers. I have an idea which might prove to be something which is too irresistible for the big hairy critters to pass on. I'm passing along this idea because while I would love to be the one to get proof of existence, it is more important to me that somebody proves it. Since I'm old, over 60, then you might understand I'm in a bit of a hurry. On a side note, I made a deal with God about 20 years or more back that he wouldn't take me until I got to see one more Royals team win the World Series, which I remind was done in spectacular fashion, and that I get to see my Chiefs, which I went more than 50 years not seeing, win another Super Bowl before he took me. Well, I don't have to point out, my dream team is now working on their number 3, so as you can imagine, I'm getting plenty nervous. And he's held up his end of the bargain in a manner worthy of being God. Okay, all of that said, in sincerity, it leaves this. First, I would like to give credit to the people who first brought this to my attention, who do not want their last name mentioned for reasons concerning their jobs, but you know who you are, and thank you. Also, after I typed in the subject, I did find a channel where I learned more on this, but frankly, I don't remember or may not have ever known the name of the channel because I was listening in the background while going to sleep. And I had the autoplay turned on, so I was going from channel to channel, listening to what they had to say. And I remember when I heard them talking about the circumstance, thinking I should go back in the morning to that site and listen again when I was more awake. However, when I woke up that next day, there was just too much stuff to wade through to go back through and find it. So all I can honestly say about it is I remember I think the location was in Nebraska, and they were inside a little room that had pictures of the horses, and they had some of the manes that they'd cut off the horses that still had braids on them. I wish I could remember the name of the channel, but I can't. Okay, so what am I talking about? Well, I haven't wrote it complete yet for posting, but I was privy to a story which was based on the idea that Bigfoot is braiding the manes of horses. Supposedly, they braid the horse's hair so tightly that often the mane has to be cut away from the animal. The story which came across my desk didn't much more than mention the horse manes but being braided, but nevertheless it was also the main clue in the story as to what was causing the horses to be so spooked. And plus there was an alleged pony eating, which really is the only fly in the ointment as far as I'm concerned, because I'm having a lot of trouble making the pieces fit together, where I'm putting together a puzzle that first I took the angle that Sass loved the horses, and that's why they were braiding the manes. However, if it's true that they're eating ponies, then that leaves only one other possibility about the braiding. They like the hair. And it actually makes some logic if you consider that they may have seen Native Americans with their hair braided, and because Sass hasn't really had the length and type of hair for braiding, it could be that they are fascinated with it. Either as the females, because they all want to be like the Kardashians, whom in this case would be human females, or the males, as they are attracted to the longer hair for obvious reasons that are just as mesmerizing and compelling, or probably more than what the females would. Or both their genders find long hair attractive, and the attraction has nothing to do with anything gender-based or sexual, and rather has something of some other importance which is beyond us and will likely remain a mystery until Sasquatch chooses to talk to us and tell us why they find it so interesting. So anyways, following the line of thinking that the Sass are intrigued by the long hair, and they find it so interesting that they, for instance, feel getting spotted on a trail cam is a fair trade for, say, a wig, make sure you buy one big enough to fit over a football helmet and place it on a styrofoam head piece, making it look as fancy as possible while keeping it very simple to understand. Which is why the styrofoam head. It might help them to understand it is to fit on their heads if they see it come off of something shaped like a head. Otherwise, they might see it and just think it's a scalp, and due to stories passed down in their folklore about times one of them had run onto a battle between humans where there was scalping involved. Nothing good's going to come from that. So, try to make them realize how the wig would fit on their head. Okay, anyways, ideally the creature will find the treat too attractive to leave alone. I think all of us can agree it would be a fair trade to get a trail cam picture in trade for a wig. Folks, I have a long ways to go to get where I need to be with YouTube, so your subscriptions and likes would be considered more than fair trade for this idea to try for yourselves. I do request, however, that if you have any sort of luck, whatever it might be, even if it's just that you find the wigs braided but left on the styrofoam heads, I would love to hear about it. And if the idea actually works, I think it isn't asking too much that you swing back by one of my videos and let me know in the comments your story about what happened. So is that a fair trade? Okay, get a wig with hair which is as straight as possible to mimic the mane on a horse. I would think the longer it is, the better it will be at attracting the sass. There are several ways you could approach this. One would be to set something up that mimicked a horse's head, but that would be my second approach. First, I would try this. And by the way, if it were me, I would also place a mirror of some sort out there for them to be able to see themselves wearing the wig. And you know, if you got some sort of positive results, I would view it as it was, you know, the females who found that intriguing. Because, you know, wouldn't it be like a woman to ignore the rules about staying hidden if she could only get her hands on, you know, whatever it is that she wants it so badly? And by that same line of thinking, if it turns out to be the males who are attracted to the hair, then they're going to be probably attracted to it for sexual reasons, and that also will be a very hard thing for them to resist. Okay, set up your trail cam, and if you have two, I would set up one so that it was aimed at the other one, a crossfire of photos, so to speak. That way, if they try to take out the cameras, you might get footage of one doing that. In other words, it would require perfect timing involving the two sass acting in unison for them to be able to take the cameras out of commission without it being photographed. Put your wig right in the middle of where the cameras are aimed. If you want to avoid scaring them away by them seeing the infrared from the trail cams, you could go old school and spread some flour around the ground, and, you know, just leave all the digital and battery powered stuff away, and settle for them walking through the flour, because, you know, so you can at least know that they really are there. And then later, the second time, you can try with cameras, because if they like one wig, they'll want more. They'll be back for more. I've also considered it might work out well to give them some wine, enough to get, if you do that though, give them just enough to get a buzz, you know, and then later you can increase the amount. But, you know, if you don't want to give them so much they get drunk and wander out in front of a car or something like that. You know, be a responsible party guide or whatever. And things may not, you know, if you do give them some wine, things may not turn out the way you had hoped, and that is a risk one chooses to take if they choose to play with fire. I do believe, however, they would appreciate the effort. I have the same thought towards giving them edibles. What would be paramount about doing either of the aforementioned would be that you, for instance, if you put out wine, also put out grape juice, and then in front of the wine make an X with sticks, so it's prominent for them to see that you know that's something that could get them high. And the same with the edibles. You know, if you put out cupcakes or cookies or whatever that have pot in them, why put out some that don't, and make sure you put, you know, an X, make it in front of the ones that would get them high, so they can, you know, and make it very prominent so they can see it. So they know you're not trying to trick them. And I think if they're as close to as smart as what they've been credited by most people, they'll figure that out pretty easily. And I'm not suggesting anybody go Chinatown on them, which it dawns on me I should mention. I mean Chinatown the movie. I'm not trying to be racist about anything. And try and get them hooked on anything. Rather than that, I figure that much like many of us, they would appreciate a night kicking back and drinking a couple glasses of wine or smoking a doobie. Or in their case, eating one. Reason for marking them with the X is for future times. It shows them you're not trying to trick them. I would think the second time around, you place the two choices out there for them. If they find the booze or the high as undesirable, it will be made known by them leaving that alone. And if they like it, of course, they'll take it. I have a strong hunch they will enjoy both types of relaxation. Like I said, please make sure that, especially in the case of the alcohol, that you figure out how much is a safe amount for them to have where they'll get a buzz but not get, you know, real drunk. You know, and figure, you know, they weigh 500 to 800 pounds, so, you know, do the math or don't do it. You know, once I had a story where some hippies claimed they did magic mushrooms and they ran onto Bigfoot. You know, so there's that. Okay, if you appreciate any of this, please give me a click on the subscription, and cheers and Godspeed to all. Thanks. Bye.